Following the sensational collapse of the libel trial Oscar Wilde brought against the Marquess of Queensberry, Wilde was swiftly arrested and charged under Section 11 of the Criminal Law Amendment Act. His alleged crime was that of gross indecency with another male, essentially any kind of homosexual act. It carried a penalty of up to 2 years in jail, with hard labour. Almost immediately at the St James Theatre in London, where Wilde's play The Importance of Being Earnest was being shown to rave reviews, his name was quickly removed from all advertisements and playbills. The prosecution opened on the 26th of April 1895. Again, almost immediately, it becomes clear that the case against Wilde is overwhelming. There are a seemingly endless list of witnesses, servants, chambermaids, former partners, male prostitutes to testify on behalf of the Crown. Scandalous details are continually being leaked to the press. Tales of bedsheets stained with semen and Vaseline, Wilde found in bed with this man or that. It is easy to imagine the fevered hysteria emanating from the public and popular press, hounding Wilde from beyond his prison cell. Editorials call for his prosecution. Crowds jeer him. They cheer for the Marquess of Queensberry. And it is this final aspect that makes the trials of Oscar Wilde so historically compelling. The case against Wilde is not just about prosecuting him, but prosecuting the imagined decadence and corruption of the age. This is a time when the intellectual understanding of same-sex relationships was slowly shifting to recognition of it as something of a disease, not a choice revealing an inner moral corruption, but something like a blameless affliction, like blindness or being French. In other words, Wilde should not be blamed, but pitied. Yet in the popular imagination, the old understanding remained as yet firmly entrenched. Homosexuality is something one chooses to do, much like a criminal might choose to commit robbery or murder. It is perverted, unnatural, and corrupt, and those who choose to practice it are themselves equally corrupt, bent on destroying the moral fabric of those in their power, and indeed, the nation at large. It is in this context that Wilde gives his impromptu speech known by its celebrated euphemism, "The love that dare not speak its name," actually delivered as a defense of the kind of non-sexual intellectual relationship that might exist between an older and younger man, but lately seen as a vindication of homosexuality itself. Perhaps the judge himself was moved. Remarkably, despite he himself being a noted conservative figure, his advice to the jury was littered with sympathy and prejudice towards Wilde's defence. He asks the jury not to judge Wilde by his writings, which may have been enough to otherwise convict him, and he questions whether a man as intelligent as Wilde would have brought a libel case against the Marquess of Queensberry if the allegations of homosexuality were true. Could he really have been so reckless? Would he really have young men in his bed at the Savoy Hotel? And just as remarkably, the jury don't convict. They are undecided. Wilde is granted bail and leaves jail. Perhaps that would have been the end of the Crown's prosecution efforts against Wilde, had it not been for one detail mentioned in last week's video. The accusations brought by the Marquess of Queensberry that the Prime Minister Lord Rosebery was himself a homosexual and, furthermore, involved in an affair with another of Queensberry's children, his eldest son, Francis. Thus, in the press, the government are being accused of conspiracy to exonerate Wilde, in fact, of overseeing an entire syndicate of gay men determined to pervert the nation. Lord Asquith, himself a future PM, believes if they do not prosecute Wilde a second time, they will lose the next election. And so they do, and this time he is convicted. It is here that the second judge gives his summation of Wilde's actions in a manner perhaps better representing the atmosphere of the time. For him, Wilde is utterly immoral, a ringleader of a circle of corruption with young men of the most hideous kind. He is handed the maximum sentence the law would allow, 2 years hard labour. Wilde is eventually taken to Pentonville prison. Along with other prisoners, his head is shaved to prevent him getting lice, and again, like his fellow inmates, he is given bromide of potassium to dull his libido and make him sexually inactive. Even so, there remains a concern that he may be masturbating too much, concerns that are duly brought to the Cabinet Office in Westminster, a genuinely unexpected detail. Wilde was given some special treatment. He was allowed books and writing materials where other prisoners were not, and he was allowed to forego hard labour as the guards feared he was not physically up to it. Politicians visited him in jail. There is a special government inquiry to ensure he is not being mistreated. The chairman of the prison commission, Sir Evelyn John Ruggles Bryce, this guy, says Wilde is an artist. He is special. He must be given special treatment. Yet regardless, his health deteriorates in prison. He contracts dysentery. Wilde is moved to Reading Jail in the countryside in an effort to improve his health, but he remains physically and, of course, emotionally scarred from his experience. Upon his eventual release, he moves to France but remains largely out of the public eye. He breaks up with Lord Alfred Douglas, who incidentally spent much of his later life converting to Catholicism and being almost psychotically homophobic and anti-Semitic. Oscar Wilde died on the 30th of November 1900. He was 46.